interceptions, and a Portland upset win. After another loss in New Jersey, Kelley was in jeopardy of losing his starting job. So now, Pepper Rodgers says he will use both quarterbacks in tonight's game, as Walter Lewis and Mike Kelley are sharing time as the ship's captain in Tennessee. At the helm in Orlando is a player growing in confidence, Reggie Collier, who has all the physical capabilities and used them to its fullest against Tampa Bay last week in the biggest win in franchise history for Orlando over Tampa Bay. Tonight, Orlando and Memphis on ESPN. The Memphians are looking forward to this game as they try to put a stranglehold on a playoff spot against the Orlando Renegades here in the Liberty Bowl. Now take a look at the playoff contenders. We can show you just how important this game is. Baltimore a half game in front of Memphis. Jacksonville, of course, is tied with Memphis, and they're coming to town next week here at the Liberty Bowl. So crucial football game coming up tonight. Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brando. Well, Pepper Rodgers has decided to use both quarterbacks in tonight's game. Truly an extension of his team. These two quarterbacks like to believe they're leaders. Pepper Rodgers likes to shake up things. He talked about the move.
Well, Walter's a little better runner. He's got a little more athletic ability in the open field to do some certain things you need done. And Michael has a little better throwing arm, a little better touch with the football right now. But I need both of them. They both played well at times this year. They both played poorly at times, as our team. So I think it'll be a distraction for the other team to worry about which quarterback's going to be playing. And it's where I'll play them, I just can't tell you. I'll make that decision later.
All right, Pepper, thank you very much. And Marv Levy, who joins me, what do you think about this maneuver and what it means to this ball game?
Well, my first thought, Tim, really is big deal. No, and what I mean by that is, I honestly don't think who plays quarterback is going to determine the outcome of this game as much as several other factors. Pepper knows his quarterbacks. He feels there's a role for each of them. He'll find the slot to use them. You change linebackers according to situations, he's going to change his quarterback according to situations, and that's fine. He knows what he has to do.
Now, when you take a look at the Orlando Renegades, certainly a team on the move up after that win against their interstate rival in Tampa Bay last week. But let's not forget, as good as Collier was, they have no running backs.
No, they don't. They've been injured and injured badly. Curtis Bledsoe is out. Leon Perry is out. He's brought in Lonnie Johnson, Cornelius Quarles. But the running game, the burden of the running game is going to descend upon the shoulders of quarterback Reggie Collier.
All right, there's no doubt this game is awfully important to the Memphis Showboats. Orlando looking to move up for the 86 campaign. Field Street and the land near Graceland is graced with these two teams coming up in a moment. There's been a lot of heat, of course, in the south, but it's 82 degrees, quite comfortable when you consider the kind of weather they've had here the last week or so. Partly cloudy skies. There's Lee Corso, the fine coach of the Orlando Renegades. He's taken this team from the depths. And now this guy, Pepper Rodgers, the author of Pepper Ball, the head coach of the Memphis Showboats. Now, as always, Marv has his keys to victory for both clubs, and how do you see them tonight?
Well, so far as Orlando is concerned, they have the best kicking game in the league, and they've got to win that tonight. They've got to win the turnover battle. Their defense isn't good enough to stop them without that. They must cope with blitzes. They're going to see a lot of them. Memphis has to have a solid running game. They're going against the poorest rushing defense in the league. They have to stop Reggie Collier as a running threat. He's their only running threat. They have to put pressure on the passer. They've been sacked 27 times more, Orlando has, than they have sacked their opponent. They're vulnerable.
There's a look at Alan Duncan, who will kick off for the Showboats out of Tennessee. Back deep for the Orlando Renegades include Jerry Parrish, Lupe Sanchez is also back there with him. Parrish will take it a yard deep. Knocked out of bounds and hit hard guard by Anthony Parker. That guy's the starting running back, and boy, what a hit he made there.
He is a great cover guy in those kicking teams as well, Tim.
He's starting, of course, as a replacement for Harry Sidney. There's Reggie Collier, the starting quarterback. 10 touchdowns, a few interceptions, yes, but certainly this offense has come a long, long way in recent weeks. Behind him are Ricky Klatt and Richard Krupp. We'll set the rest of the offense for you in a moment. First and 10 at the 25. That's Krupp. Nothing doing. Steve Hammond made the stop along with Mike Grant. Up front for that guy, Reggie Collier. Gary Durger will be the center. Tom Dornbrook and Ed Fulton will be the guards. The tackles are Ed Moransky and Joel Patton. The tight end is Bob Nazolik. One wide receiver is Joey Walters. The other will be Parrish, drawing the starting nod over Jackie Flowers, though we will see a great deal of Flowers. And we've already mentioned to you the running backs. It's second down and 10. The ball just outside the 25. We'll call it second and 9. Receivers in the game now. Collier gets out of bounds just in time at the 29, a gain of about 3, maybe 4. Reggie White made the stop. Defensively, the Showboats look this way. Reggie White will be the nose tackle. Sam Clancy will be at one defensive end, Calvin Clark the other. They'll run with the 3-4 most of the time. We do have a marker now. There was a flag down there that we were obstructed from, and we're evidently going to have perhaps a piling on penalty. That kind of thing. It's a big, big penalty.
Personal foul, 15-yarder.
That will put the ball at the 44-yard line, where it will be first and 10. So that one came late after Collier had gone out of bounds. Continuing with that defensive alignment, the linebackers, John Corker and Carlton Rose outside, Steve Hammond and Mike Grant inside. The corner is Ray Odoms, just picked up. He's playing for the injured Mossy Cade. The other corner is Leonard Coleman. Barney Bussey and Don Veselu are the safety. First and 10 at the 44 for Orlando. Jerry Parrish, the intended receiver. Right there with him was Ray Odoms.
That was a first down play. They came in with 3 wide receivers. They took their tight end, Bob Nazolik, out. They brought in Jeff Smith, indicating what Lee Corso said before the game. We're going to have to win it with the pass. He went with pass-oriented personnel on that play.
So it's second down and 10. We should mention that Memphis has lost a number of linebackers. 3 linebackers are gone from early in the season, and having lost Cade, you've got to believe they will try to exploit Ray Odoms at that corner spot you see at the top of your screen. Second and 10. Well, he dumped it off, intended for Klatt. He heard footsteps coming from Steve Hammond. It falls incomplete, and it's a third down situation coming up. We figured they would be blitzing linebackers a great deal tonight.
Yes, we did. We felt with new backs in the game that their difficulty in picking up blitzes and understanding the different combinations would be compounded tremendously, and Memphis is blitzing quite a bit. You can get burned doing that, but you can also cause some big plays for yourself on defense, too.
Orlando has had difficulty on third down. It's third and 10 right here. They're showing blitz, aren't they? Off, Collier rolls, and markers are down. Out of bounds, just shy of the 50. Flags are down again, as we mentioned, and Leonard Coleman knocked him out of bounds. Don Veselu also there to polish up.
Offside, number 53 in the defense.
You know, Tim, John Corker does that quite a bit. He takes a blitz, and he'll take a false step, hoping to unsettle the offensive team, but often he finds his foot is in the neutral zone, doesn't get back in time when the ball is snapped. You used an interesting term there. I don't even know if you knew it was a coaching term. You said they're showing blitz. Coaches use a term called show blitz, in which they show a blitz, make you audible on offense, and then pull off and play zone defense, and you've got a bad pass pattern now that you've audible into.
That's what I get for working with Marv Levy for a few weeks, right? Got the lingo, and I didn't know it.
We both learned.
Third down. yards or so for the first down. Boy, Collier had all kinds of time. Now, will they really complete or not? Parrish has got it. They will mark it at the 43 of Memphis for the first down. Arnie Bussey on the coverage there.
The short hook pattern, they're just going for the first down, sending their receivers down. Collier definitely reading his own right side. Parrish, he has a lot of time. Parrish comes back for the ball very well. Even though it's a low throw, he comes up with it. Certainly meriting the judgment of Lee Corso to start him in this ball game, because that was a key catch there now in opponent territory.
This drive started at the 25, has been aided somewhat by Showboat miscues, penalties. Crump gets it down to about the 41. John Corker made the stop. Richard Crump, an interesting study. As you look at John Corker there, we thought that this would be a game for him, blitzing and that kind of thing. Crump had a great year with the Boston Breakers prior to their move to New Orleans, then had an offseason. You know the story of Marcus Dupre and Buford Jordan, so off went Crump, and since that time he's been bothered with injuries. Second down and 8. Took a chance that time, tried to sandwich it between linebackers. Nearly got the job done. Grant knocked it out of there. Parrish, the intended receiver.
Collier just about ready to deliver. He rolled to his left. All his receivers were to the left. He's trying to thread the needle. He throws the ball perfectly, but it's broken up by Mike Grant, who comes in very aggressively to dislodge the ball from Parrish. He would have really had to thread a needle to have completed it.
Third down and a long 8, perhaps 9. Collier, a great week last week against Tampa Bay, a game that people in Orlando will not soon forget. It's short of the first down at the 35. Smith came up with it. Jeff Smith, Steve Hammond with him, the linebacker, and as we mentioned, about 1.5 yards, perhaps 2 yards away from a first down.
Yes, but it's an interesting situation. They're on the 35. It makes it a 53-yard field goal. That's too long, I think. And a punt, you may only get 15 if you kick it in the end zone. I think you ought to go for it. They are. I said it after they huddled and showed it, but I took too long to tell you what I thought they ought to do.
You just got the analytical fudge job from Marv Levy. Fourth down, and the fans are pumped up for this play. Boy, Collier took Memphis to the clinic that time. It's a first down at the 30-yard line. Calvin Clark, fourth-year player out of Purdue, made the stop.
It's a bunch of short yardage defense, and so very wisely, there's an inside fake of a run to the tailback on the play, and Collier brings out, he had a run or pass option, could have thrown to Joey Walters, who was covered. He's able to get enough yards for the first down. Walters trying to come back, number 17 in blue, to give him some help with a good block there.
Lee Corso brought his wife with him to this game. Betty is here. His son, normally David, makes the trips, not this time. It's a family in Orlando. Lee Corso wanted it that way. Crump again to about the 25. One of the better running plays inside for Orlando in some time. A 4-yard gain for the Renegades is good on first down.
Well, yes, they're struggling. I think there's a flag down on the field. It came late. Let's see what it's all about.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 91 on the defense.
Carlton Rose. And that is now the third time Memphis has made a crucial mistake defensively to help sustain this drive.
Well, you know, last week they had 2 crucial penalties on the first touchdown mark by New Jersey. Let's take a look and see if we can detect it. Took in the middle of the screen, number 91 coming in, grabbing, and what?
Zolik was the guy. A little round and around in the do-say-do with Bob Nizolik, the tight end.
Well, unless there was more to it than that, it didn't look like a great deal to penalize 15 yards in a crucial situation on.
All right. That's Ricky Clack. Inside the 10 to perhaps the 8. Grant has a hold of him. A with Barney Bussey.
So I interrupted you there, Tim, to yell roll right, which is what I thought they were going to do, because when they send one flanker in motion to the other flanker side so far, they have rolled out with Collier. That was the keep you honest play. They showed you the same thing and handed the ball off.
Well, the last two times they've tried to keep the Memphis defense honest, they've picked up healthy yardage. Reggie Collier, his numbers so far. Crump is stacked up. Grant has been awfully active, sometimes too much so in this game. He's paid the price, but certainly the lateral pursuit was excellent this time.
Basic off-tackle play to the left. Barney Bussey helps stuff the play number 8, meeting the lead blocker, and then he gets good pursuit from the inside, primarily by Grant and Steve Hammond, the leading tackler on their team, number 54.
Well, here we go again, third down. Orlando in a pivotal situation where the drive is concerned, and Memphis has had problems with penalties in these situations so far. Premature movement again, perhaps. Flowers, touchdown. Jackie Flowers just in the game, takes in the aerial, and as we mentioned, no flags, but again, it appeared that there had been some premature movement either by the offensive line of Orlando or the defensive line of Memphis.
Well, it looks like Memphis is in the neutral zone there. It becomes academic because this quick slant-in pass is completed. Collier throwing, as you can see, under great pressure. Jackie Flowers' concentration, excellent. You see him look the ball in all the way, even though someone's on his back. Collier impressed me on that one, Tim. He threw with a lot of... Steve Hammond was right in his chest with his headgear when he delivered the ball.
Brockhouse for the extra point. All right, the Orlando Renegades have a cause in this game, and they lead Memphis 7-0. Jackie Flowers on the sidelines, obstructed. There he is with the touchdown. Here's another look, and watch the pressure given to Collier here.
See, you tell a quarterback to plant and throw, but now when you're being blitzed, you have to throw off balance. That's one of the few times you should. He delivers it right on the money. Flowers helps him, a very smooth receiver on a pattern that tight.
Brockhouse to kick off. Crawford is back deep. He'll take it at his 13. Derek Crawford. Up to around the 32-yard line. Brockhouse made the stop, and both quarterbacks are coming in now. There's a look at Mike Kelley, but yes, Walter Lewis as well is in the lineup here. This may be another one of Pepper's pet plays. The snap, and there he goes again. Ron Freeman runs him out of bounds. The last time you and I were here against Birmingham, they used the same play, and it worked a second time.
Here's the snap, Lewis. He fakes a reverse to Kelley, and they have a pattern developing on the other side. The key block is by number 25, Anthony Parker, and then Lewis knows how to high step once he gets going. It's a beautiful piece of running. They used it, as you said, 4 games ago, came back with it. It's the first time they've run it since that game, and they opened the game with it that night against Birmingham, I believe.
Setbacks are split. Anthony Parker. Whistle had been blown dead before the fumble. Gain of 7. Joe Ehrman makes the stop. He just came in. There's Walter Lewis. Pepper Rodgers has been quoted as saying that he has as much talent as a running back as Joe Cribbs. Of course, Walter wants to be a quarterback. Pepper knows that, and he'll never be a running back in Memphis.
Well, he's got great talents as a quarterback, and they want to be sure before they make such a move that they exhaust looking at him at that position.
Second down and 2. Spencer. Boy, he was nailed. Kevin Kellen made the stop, the defensive end for Orlando. Let's set now the offense for the Memphis Showboats. Up front for Mike Kelley, who's had an up-and-down year, as have the Showboats. Larry Rubens will be the center. Ken Smith and Tyrone McGriff the guards. Louis Sharp and David Huffman will be the tackles there. You see they take a look now at a possible measurement for a first down. Derek Crawford is one wide receiver. Greg Moser the other. The tight ends are Gary Shirk, but we will see a great deal of Mark Rao. Running backs Anthony Parker, Tim Spencer, and as we mentioned, Kelley drawing the start, and it is a first down for Memphis. Defensively, Orlando looks this way with a four-man front. Graham and Ehrman, sometimes James Scott are the tackles. Scott Hutchinson and Kevin Kellen are the ends. The linebackers are Kelvin Atkins, Ron Freeman in the middle, and Ed Jackson, the outside linebacker. They've had some injuries in their linebacking core as well, the Orlando Renegades, losing Randolph. Albert Gray and Jeff George are the corners. Lupe Sanchez and Victor Jackson are the safeties. First and 10 at the 22 for Memphis. Orlando leads it by 7. Derek Crawford. Close to another first down. Jeff George was over there covering.
Crawford ran a great route. He drives deep at George, who's in one-on-one coverage on him. Now watch him. He doesn't plant as well as I thought he should, but he comes back for the ball well. Should have planted with his left foot to drive back at the ball. He sort of rounded off his break, but once he came back for that ball, you could see he'd been drilled on how to come back for a ball.
Homespun star Derek Crawford, who played collegiately here at Memphis State. He's now in his third season. Second and 2 again. Parker! Now what will they rule here? He went down to the turf, but was he touched by a defensive player?
Well, it determines whether there's a score or not. It could be a red flag request. We'll see. It determines whether contact caused him to go to the ground or whether there was contact after he's on the ground. That I did not see. Right up over the left guard. What's 61, Ken Smith here? Fire out into David Graham and rip that hole open. Tim Spencer lead blocking. Okay, let's see right here. Parker slips as he tries to cut, and it's hard to tell whether number 21 Sanchez touched him or not. It is difficult to tell, and even if there is a red flag, you couldn't change it because it was very difficult to tell.
At the 1. Parker. Touchdown. Anthony Parker drawing the start for the injured Harry Sidney, and he starts with some fireworks.
Okay, here we see Parker again. Tim Spencer, 46, leading the blocking. Number 88, the left end, who comes in especially in short yard situations. Van Heflin got a good block. He was stunned at the line of scrimmage, but with a good second effort, fought his way in. Parker's been quite a figure in this early going for the Showboats.
He, along with Lewis. Let's not forget, Walter Lewis set all of this up with his long run. Our score now, Memphis 7, Orlando 7. We'll return to the Liberty Bowl after this. Duncan will kick off. We're tied at 7 here in Memphis. Lupe Sanchez. And look at Lupe go. Nailed at about the 28-yard line. Don Besselou down there to make the stop. We do have markers down. In an area where you'd have... Yep, and we do have holding.
Well, that really hurts. So you start so deep in your territory. You can start in respectable position. You can use all your offense if you're outside the 25. But they take you now back down to the 14-yard line. You really become restricted, and the defense can have all of the aggressiveness and initiative in this position, Tim.
Reggie Collier has to feel somewhat at home. Bordering state Mississippi is where he played collegiately at Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg. Ricky Platt and Richard Crump are his setbacks. Parrish coming down to the bottom of your screen. Platt is in a slot now to the left side. He found Platt, and what a break. He threw that one between 4 defenders. Platt came up with it and got to the 25. Mike Grant made the stop.
Everything you shouldn't do in that field position was done, and yet they came out of it okay. Collier starts to run. He throws in the middle. He throws off balance. He throws it back across his body where all the defense is, yet he gets it there. A lot of people converging. A tip ball would have made a difference. He's finally brought down by Grant and Coleman.
First down and 10 at the 25 for Orlando. In the flat, and another 5 yards. Leonard Coleman again, along with Carlton Rose. Look at that now. When you start talking about growing in confidence.
Well, it shows the maturing of Reggie Collier as a quarterback the more he gets to play. The biggest figure difference to me is that his touchdown-interception ratio has become about equal, whereas in his previous career it was heavily weighted towards the interception.
And he knows he's going to be the starting quarterback, and Lee Corso has got to be given credit for that. Second down, a short 5 coming up. Richard Crump. Nailed by the entire forward wall. Calvin Clark, Reggie White, John Corker also in on the pile. Not much picked up, about 2 perhaps.
It's very obvious, Tim, that they are having a great deal of difficulty running the ball. They are running enough to keep it honest and to make an effort to run it, but they're having a difficult time running against that Memphis defense. They're having to do it on the scrambling of Collier and Collier's throwing ability, and they were helped big, of course, by 3 penalties during that first drive as well.
2 minutes and 23 seconds left in the first quarter. It's been an offensive showcase to this juncture. Collier running out of room. Forced out of the pocket by Calvin Clark, and Clark finally mopped up. As Reggie tried to cut back, he slipped a bit. We did have some rain about an hour or so prior to the game.
Collier dropping back. You see him back out of there. It means he's going to throw left or he fears a blitz. Either one of those. He wants to have vision on it. No one's open. They played him zone. He runs. There's no place to go. He wisely goes down. Fortunately, the ball doesn't come free.
Talk about great seasons. How about Greg Cater as he prepares to punt on 4th and 4? Leads the United States Football League. Crawford awaits. Crawford may have been on his way for a touchdown.
Okay, here's Derek Crawford. Returning punts as a regular for the first time this year. Great kick returner last year. Look at the move he put on there on Bruce Byram, the snapper. He should be able to put that move on. But he flows so freely, and he does what a great punt returner should do. He hits straight upfield with the ball.
All right, we're tied at 7 here in Memphis. It's quite a game. That should be a good game coming up tomorrow night in sultry Alabama. Orlando tied at 7, and there's Derek Crawford. Now, as you mentioned, his punt return, they used to have Henry Williams back there, Marv.
They had Williams back on punt and kickoff returns. They've made the move to Crawford, who led the USFL last year in kickoff returns. Williams had great potential, but he hasn't delivered. And I'll tell you, Tim, potential has fired more coaches than Robert Irsay.
Oh, there are some former Colts that enjoyed that statement. Inside midfield, Memphis. Spencer has it to the 46. I'm going to have to think about that one. Fired more people than Robert Irsay. Pick up of about 4 for Tim Spencer. You know, this guy came in with such great billing, and Pepper Rodgers does say he's running better now, but certainly he has still not lived up to all of his potential.
No, but he came off a very serious injury. He's nearing 3,000 yards for his career in less than 3 seasons. He could reach it tonight.
Second down and 6 for Memphis. Parker gets 3 or 4. On his back was Ron Freeman, the middle linebacker, out of Pitt in his 3rd year. 6'2", 230 pounds, a pretty active middle linebacker.
He certainly is, and leading their team in tackles. These are Renegades in tackles. I'm very impressed with Parker. He does so many things well. His takeoff on that straight-ahead play was magnificent. I know he's speedy over a 40-yard stretch, but very quick takeoff as well.
All right, we've run out of time in the first quarter. It's been a quite active one. Mike Kelley still at the helm. We have yet to see Walter Lewis, at least at quarterback, but we're tied at 7 here in Memphis. With Kelley, both with pluses and minuses statistically, but he's helped his quarterback mate more perhaps than he would have expected early on tonight.
Yeah, well, Lewis's most impressive statistic is the number of touchdowns, interceptions. Very good. Kelley's moving the club. Paradoxically, the guy that's moving for the biggest amount of yardage for him at quarterback is Walter Lewis tonight on that first play of the game.
So no change to this point. Really no need for a change if you're Pepper Rodgers. Spencer inching his way to the 40-yard line. Albert Gray tripped him up. Kellen also went on the stop.
Here's Timmy Spencer. Just a basic pitch play with Parker leading the blocking. Also, the center Rubens. Spencer cutting in. There's some good pursuit there for the stop. Again by Ron Freeman, the leading tackler, number 56.
Now, fourth down here. Short yardage coming up, and Memphis will go for it.
They're going for it. It is extremely short yardage. Again, I think this is quarterback sneak situation. Unless you fumble the exchange, you've got it.
Parker and Spencer are the setbacks. Tim Spencer, that will be close. Now remember, he did not need a yard. He needed only, half a foot or a foot, if that.
If you've got less than 12 inches to go, I'd sneak it. I think he may have it anyway. But why take the ball back off the line of scrimmage and make you have to regain yardage? In fact, he may not have it. I really think that's quarterback sneak situation.
Bernard West and a few other defenders for Orlando, and Lee Corso not exactly ecstatic over the spotting of the ball, the placement.
Nope, in that situation, I've never seen a coach happy the way the ball's spotted. They made it by a fraction.
Watch the surge now made by Spencer.
Okay, off the ball. Now Spencer is contacted at the line. Second effort in there as he wriggles and fights. It has to be a somewhat arbitrary spot by an official, of course, but he gets in there and does the best he can.
Pepper says, okay, keep it up, guys. We're on a roll. They moved methodically downfield on their first possession, as did Orlando. We're tied at 7, just underway second quarter. A few blocks. Markers are down as Atkins goes out of bounds at the 43-yard line of Memphis. David Huffman running him out of bounds. Kelley again was given great pressure.
He was under pressure. Atkins has been a big turnover man for him this year.
Number 94 on the return.
Kevin Kellen, the guilty party on the clip after the interception.
It's a drop-back pass out of an I formation, something you don't do real often. David Graham got his hand on the ball there, number 68. Atkins picks it up, and it's very important to make that tackle early. The first 3 or 4 yards of an interception return are the dangerous ones so far as the team trying to make the tackle is concerned, because you can get a lot of yardage after that. Finally, pulled down there by David Huffman.
So Mike Kelley goes to talk with the ship's officer. We're tied at 7 with 13:30 left in the second quarter. You look at Lee Corso. He told us yesterday when we met with him that his defense had to turn the ball over to his offense in order for his club to survive.
He said he couldn't stop drives that are sustained otherwise.
First and 10 now for Orlando at the 27 after the penalty. An interception returned by Atkins. Crump gave an inside juke that did not fool John Corker a bit. They stop him at the 32-yard line. Gain of 5, 2nd and 5 coming up.
One of the things Lee Corso said they had to do in the passing game is they're being blitzed. They had to go long to their receivers. If Memphis changed up and used a deep drop zone, Collier had to be ready to dump off to the backs. It's not easy to school a quarterback to do that. Collier has done that very well this evening so far.
Joey Walters at the top of your screen. Parrish at the bottom. Smith also in. Crump is stopped in his tracks. Hammond again, the very active linebacker, along with John Corker. They're just sending everyone, every time they see three receivers, let alone 4 receivers in the game.
Well, they're blitzing a great deal, and added receivers in the game is triggering to them, in their own mind, the idea of the blitz. The difficult dilemma, which is being faced by Orlando now, is should we keep running to keep it honest? We'll just get our heads knocked off and we just throw every down, but they're not succeeding when they run.
No gain. It's 3rd down and 4. Smith first down at the 41. Barney Bussey, along with Mike Fox in the game to make the stop. There's Fox out of San Diego State, seeing a lot of time, of course. Pressed into duty with the injury to Mossy Kate at one corner. Now Fox will play either side as you look at Barney Bussey.
He's also their nickel back. He comes in nickel situations. Ray Odom's actually starting in Mossy Cade's position tonight.
With a shotgun formation, it's 1st and 10 Orlando, just outside the 40-yard line. We'll call it the 41. The pass was intended for Parrish. Smith was running a post pattern. John Corker giving great pressure again.
It's a blitz. Grant totally unblocked on the play, and he tries to use what we call a sight adjust. The receiver breaks off his pattern when he sights the blitz taking place. Here's Corker, 53. It wasn't Grant. It was Corker that came untouched. Number 53 in white. Right into Collier. I like Collier's concentration there. Even though he knows he's going to get a hit, he's looking down the barrel of the gun. He follows through to see what's happening.
2nd down and 10. Clack, the lone setback. Walters. And a nice defensive play by Odoms again. Out of Alabama, he only played basketball at Alabama as we look at the receivers here.
There are 2 receivers, both spread receivers on the same side, breaking turnout cuts. Ball delivered to Walters. Odoms flying back in there, deflects it. It bounces off of Walters' helmet. Fine play by Odoms. That's going to help his confidence. He's in there under a lot of pressure tonight. We pressed in Mossy Cave.
As we mentioned, he only played basketball at Alabama, did Odoms. Spent a lot of time in the CFL. And they're high on him. They figure that he can fill in adequately for Mossy Cave. Ray Odoms, 3rd down again and 10. Walters, he tried to inside out Odom and he had nothing to do with it. He's short of the 1st down at the 48-yard line.
Odoms gave him that old basketball shuffle. Guarding his man there and able to stay with him.
That was a great lesson in agility from both Walters and Odoms. Greg Cater, who was picked up from Memphis by Lee Corso, who's a great friend of Pepper Rodgers. Lee said, look, Pepper, you've got 2 great kickers. I need one. Send me your guy. He did, and of course the rest is history. Cater has had a masterful year. Job too, doesn't it? So they will mark it a bit up. They'll mark it at about the 18. It appeared for a moment as though he might have found the coffin corner. Lee Corso still satisfied. His team is tied with Memphis at 7-7. We're tied at 7. A journeyman punter turned supreme punter in the USFL in Orlando, Greg Cater.
Well, he does everything right. He's moving into the ball when it's snapped. He's going to be kicking for out of bounds. Note the perfect drop, the ball hitting flat across his instep, follow through. That's the unselfish punt, the one where you punt out of bounds. Your average doesn't work, but you pin your opponents deep in their territory.
1st and 10 with the ball at the 17. That's where they marked it. Kelley still at quarterback, and there goes Parker. Past the 25 to the 27. Lupe Sanchez, the first to hit him, along with Calvin Atkins.
The middle of that Memphis offensive line is really ripping holes in there for number 73 Russ Bollinger is in, 51 Larry Rubin, 61 Kent Smith. They rip a hole open. It takes linebackers and backs to stop them. A defensive lineman on the Orlando team is the number 10 tackler on the squad. There isn't a lineman in the top 9 tacklers.
Second down and short yardage, and Spencer has a first down and then some. And there are defensive backs again on the stop. Lupe Sanchez and Albert Gray. And just as you mentioned, not a defensive lineman within arm's reach.
Now, once again, Spencer bounced outside. There was a blitz by Ed Jackson, the outside back, and there's a nice move by Spencer there. Spencer's waving for some reason. He wants, I think somebody in there might be a little shaken up. He says he's out of it a little bit. You better replace him. He's pointing at a player.
5 rushes for 18 yards so far. It's been his teammate, Parker, that has come up with the big plays out of the running back slot. And let's not forget Walter Lewis on Pepper's pet play to start things tonight. Kelley on first down, throws to the running back. Ricky Porter just into the game.
On the previous play when Spencer was signaling, they did take Parker out. Parker probably had been banged up when Jackson blitzed. I think they collided head-to-head, and he was a little shaky. Spencer spotted it, got him out of there, brought in Ricky Porter. Porter just made that catch.
Bernard West made the stop as you look at Pepper Rodgers.
Go Porter!
Rodgers says his team has to fly high from the theme of Officer and a Gentleman. Spencer running into a group of gentlemen in blue. Freeman, along with Kevin Kellen. Kellen out of Minnesota in his 4th year. And so they lose yardage back to the 40, and it will be 3rd down and 5 coming up. Kellen coming out of the game.
Kellen comes out on pass-type situations. He's not necessarily a passer. They like to bring in Joe Ehrman when a pass is up, and then James Stewart is an extra defensive back comes in the game.
You saw it just like I did. Kelley has picked up 9 interceptions in his last 3 outings. There are his numbers for tonight, and he does have 1 interception to add to that. Crawford, first down. Ike Griffin made the saving tackle. Markers fly, and again we may have additional yardage tacked on to what is already a big gain.
Well, they're conferring. Crawford is really a smooth athlete. Broke that tackle, Sanchez.
Illegal use of hands, number 80 on the offense.
Gerald Bradley, the guilty party there. Backup wide receiver for Memphis gets caught, and that nullifies a huge gain, and it happened defensively to Memphis on Orlando's touchdown drive. And since that time, mistakes offensively, the turnover, and now a crucial penalty here have stymied Pepper Rodgers and his team.
Penalties are hurting them. Now they move the ball back, so it's 3rd and 1. I'm trying to figure this one out. It's a short yardage situation. The timing of the penalty was such that they got the gain, were penalized from there. The downs repeated, but unless I could speak to an official or have him speak to us, I can't quite unravel exactly what happened.
3rd and a yard. 7:22 is left in the second quarter, and we're tied 7.
Orlando, first timeout.
And the Orlando defense wants to talk about it. So one would think Lee Corso realizes already, even this early, a big play coming up. We're not here in Memphis. Mark this time and this spot. Walter Lewis enters the game at quarterback with 7:22 left in the second quarter, and his team tied at 7, and there's Mike Kelley on the sideline.
I remember Pepper telling us earlier today, though, the situations will determine when I put him in. 3rd and 1, he said, it's a Walter Lewis situation. Here it is, 3rd and 1.
Let him run for it then, right? We'll see. Double tight end look. pass incomplete, and he got rid of it just in the nick of time to tempt Spencer. I'm sure that play was not designed to be a pass to Spencer in that position.
No. I think Lewis is going to roll out, hit a man in the flat quickly, or run, but he trips, moving away from center, and now makes, I think, a bad judgment trying to go outside. I think it's Jeff George. He might have been able to cut up inside of him, but his trip when he left center fouled up the timing of the play.
So for the moment, Walter Lewis will have to think about it. Jim Miller in to punt the ball away for Memphis. Victor Jackson back deep. Markers are down in the area of the punter. Jackson is up to about the 20-yard line. But again, as we mentioned, the marker thrown in an area where either holding could be called or perhaps roughing the kicker. Let's wait.
Delayed. Number 88 on the offense did not report as an eligible number.
Well, you saw late a Memphis player rushed out onto the field and lined up at tackle. He had an 88 on. That's an eligible number. If you line up in an ineligible position with an eligible number, you must report to the official. He didn't do so. We'll see what Orlando decides, whether they accept the ball where it was or whether they're going to take the penalty and make him kick again. Apparently, that's what they're going to do.
So we'll probably do it again, won't we? 7 minutes and 3 seconds are left. And we started with two teams doing what they wanted offensively. Since that time, the defenses to a degree have taken over. As we look at Lewis and Kelley on the sidelines, they really are the storyline to this game. A lot of sidebar articles will be written on those two gentlemen after this game is over, and markers fly again. Bernard West and Mark Rao get to know one another a bit better.
Illegal procedure on the center.
You know, once a disruptive event occurs on the play, I think it increases the likelihood of it occurring again on the following play or soon. That's why errors in a game tend to run in streaks.
There you see it. 6 for 46. Art Kuhn, the deep snapper, is guilty here.
Art Kuhn started to snap the ball, then he realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe he didn't call it. He tried to pull it back, but no question about it, he moved illegally.
All the while, Orlando must be thinking about good field position after they get the football. Jackson with a fair catch at the 30, so not a bad spot to start if you're Lee Corso and company. Our score is 7-7, Orlando and Memphis. Here at the Bowl, and we'll return after this. Here, with 6:35 left in the second quarter, we're tied at 7. Crump and Platt are set behind Reggie Collier. There's a bootleg, and Reggie Collier sets sail, and no one will catch him. Touchdown, Orlando.
That's a little deja vu. That's what he did in the first game to clinch the game late in the fourth quarter when they played the Showboats. Let's take a look. It's a fake of a running play. This is the most simple play action you've ever seen. Fake trap to Crump. They converge on Crump. Here comes Collier, and I tell you, that guy can fly. Great coordination by Reggie Collier. He has this tremendous athletic ability. What coordination. He could probably drive a car and refold a road map at the same time.
Look at him blow past these guys.
Once he turns it on, there's no catching him.
That's what we mean when we say Reggie Collier is a gifted athlete. Brockhouse with the extra point, and Collier has stung the Showboats again. 3 touchdowns rushing when they last met. He has one, and that's the one that gives Orlando the lead. Orlando leads 14-7. Markers down on the kickoff. Crawford has it at his 3. The 30. He nearly broke it up to the 35. Markers are down, thrown in the area of offsides against the kicking team. Now, one must wonder if, in fact, Memphis would take or decline this penalty.
I would decline it. I'd decline it.
Kicking team, number 58.
Bernard West. linebackers. You called it, Coach. They declined it. The ball is at the 37-yard line. A nice position for Mike Kelley or Walter Lewis.
What a dimension Crawford adds to this team on kick return. They're going against a team that's the best kick coverage team in the league so far this year, Orlando is, and Memphis's kick return game has nullified the great kick coverage of Orlando.
Gerald Bradley is in the game. Kelley finds Crawford. First down, inside Renegade territory at the 48. Ed Jackson knocked him out of bounds. There's Derek Crawford.
Crawford took quite a shot in the back. He was dancing to try and evade the man who was upfield from him, and Jackson, with some great effort on pursuit, came in with a very hard tackle in the back. Crawford wasn't moving. He was sort of stationary at the time. Seems to be fine, however.
Well, he just told Mike Kelley something, too, didn't he?
I can beat that guy deep. That's what those receivers all tell the quarterback.
That's Gerald Bradley inside Crawford at the lower portion of your screen. First and 10. That was hit by Anthony Parker. He really didn't tackle him or force him out of bounds. Look at this running from Anthony Parker.
They are just ripping him up the middle. McGriff, Rubens getting blocks. Louis Sharp out there. The hardest hit on the ball carrier was by the umpire there, and then he caught another one from the outside by another Memphis player.
Dave Foley, the umpire. Our officials tonight, the referee is Wesley Ward, the umpire Dave Foley, the head linesman is Jack Pitchkins, Richard Sands is the line judge. It's first down, Memphis. There's a fumble. Leonard Williams, just into the game, does get back on top at the 26-yard line.
Hey, the toss was just a little bit softer than Williams was anticipating it. I'm not faulting Kelley for the toss. It just was a little softer than Williams anticipated it being, and as a result, he only got the front end of the ball and couldn't quite hang on to it. You know, the play before, that umpire, a fellow who stands right behind the defensive line, that honestly, in my opinion, is the most dangerous position on the whole football field, whether you're playing or officiating.
Just under 5 minutes left, second quarter, 14-7 Orlando. Parker. Close to another first down. Freeman, the last to hit him. Also over there was Jeff George.
This is a good read. Both wide receivers were doubled. Kelley would like to have gone downfield against wide receivers. He saw blitz, thought they'd be single. They're both doubled. No one at all on number 25. They're all dropping back, take the wide receivers away. As you can see, wide open on the play. Just had to be a blown coverage. Somebody should have had him and read things wrong. I'll tell you that Ron Freeman finally gets there, and he is really active. He is flying around the field.
Parker gets the blow, and Ricky Porter comes into the game. Or is that Williams? We'll wait. It is Porter. Albert Gray had a hand on him, and then he slipped through. James Stewart, the last to touch him, so Ricky Porter giving us a little of Anthony Parker with Parker on the bench with this run.
There's a variety of running backs carrying the ball. And I'll tell you, Spencer is carrying his weight tonight blocking number 46. Parker stopped, but he wrests himself free from number 22, Albert Gray, picks up some more yards. A variety, several Memphis backs are running with a lot of authority tonight. Parker, Ricky Porter, Spencer, and Williams.
Even with Harry Sidney, all of those guys got a great deal of playing time, so that has to aid them with Sidney gone.
Very much so.
First down with the ball just outside the 10. Crawford to the 4. Gray and Stewart both were there.
Crawford started to run a crossing pattern to the inside. If he was covered man to man, he would have kept going. He wasn't. He saw he was running into a zone, so he broke back to the outside. Kelley and Crawford teamed up well, read each other well. Crawford picks up some good yardage, stopped there by Stewart. Here we see Crawford. Now watch, he'll drive in under Bradley, number 80. He sees 21 ready to pick him up, so he drives back to the outside, makes the catch. Some good effort by James Stewart to keep him from scoring, but he certainly got a lot closer.
And the ball is now at the 4. 3 catches for 39 yards for Crawford. Remember, Memphis can get a first down without the benefit of a touchdown. Bootleg for Mike Kelley, touchdown.
A similar concept to the long touchdown run Reggie Collier had. The defense bunches, you fake inside, they have to converge, and then you roll outside. Power formation and offense. Fake to the fullback up the middle. His left guard pulled to lead him around the corner. He has a runner pass option on it. Everybody's dropped off covering the receivers. A cakewalk for Mike Kelley into the end zone.
The extra point is good. And it's the quarterbacks running, not throwing, that are making headlines in Memphis. We're tied at 14. Tim Brando along with Marv Levy. We're with you live. We're in the second quarter. Memphis and Orlando tied at 14. There's Reggie Collier. He has a touchdown run. And that one was very similar to one that was used not once, not twice, but 3 times against Memphis when the clubs last met 7 weeks ago. And Mike Kelley, who got his a shorter distance, but the same effect on the scoreboard. On the return, Jerry Parrish is stopped at the 28-yard line. Gerald Bradley, among others. Barney Bussey also in on the stop. And when you look at all of the quarterbacks, Collier and then the quarterbacks from Memphis, look at the yardage they picked up on the ground.
Very impressive. Kelley's 4 yards, of course, could well be 96 because it took him in for a touchdown. So the quarterbacks have been very key people in the running game tonight.
And of course, Kelley led his team 63 yards to answer the touchdown run of Collier to tie the game at 14. And we have come down to the 2-minute warning here in the first half. It's been exciting to this point. We're tied at 14. All of Memphis recognizes how big this game is. Their Showboats trying to hold on to a spot in the playoffs. Right now they're tied with Jacksonville for the final spot, and those two clubs will meet here a week from tomorrow. But first things first, we're tied at 14. Orlando and Memphis now with 2 minutes left in the first half. Joey Walters stopped shy of the first down by Ray Odom.
You know, Jerry Durger was moved to center. He's doing a fine job against Reggie White. Durger, number 70 in blue, paired off against 92. Reggie White, he's getting help there from his right guard, Ed Fulton.
Second down and 3. All the way. Parrish really ran out of real estate. Had there been a bit more room, he might have been on his way.
Collier aired it out, just put it up there and went as deep as he could go on it. Here we see Ron Osborne, number 23, hasn't seen much action. Actually, Osborne, the ball would have been out of bounds, so there's no pass interference, but it might have been otherwise.
Third down and 3 for Orlando. Ricky Klatt. Boy, he just gave Barney Bussey a headache. Got the first down to the 44. There's Bussey shaking the cobwebs out. First down for Orlando, and a crucial reception by Ricky Klatt.
Well, I'll tell you, Bussey's a big hitter himself, but here we see Klatt really lowering that shoulder. Look at Bussey extend, except Bussey does not keep his head up, does not wrap his arms around. Klatt wins that particular battle, but they don't do it often against Bussey.
Orlando calls the timeout. Barney Bussey is considered a hitman, and for Klatt to lay a hit on him like that, that's something that I'm sure Bussey will remember, and his teammates may rib him a bit about.
Well, they might. He came in, though. He put a good hard hit on. His technique was not correct. Certainly his effort and his willingness and his toughness and his courage on the play were all you could ask for. But his technique has to be good, too.
Pepper Rodgers, and he has told the line so often. He had those bad times early in the season after the loss to Orlando, really, and then all of a sudden turned it around, and now here again he's in a position where his team must win.
They certainly must, and they've played streaky football. Look at this. Collier, all but 12 of the yards that they've gained this half.
Just as we mentioned at the outset, he means really everything to this team. 1:19 left in the half. First down, and Collier in trouble. Out of bounds off the hands of Parrish. I'm not certain that had he come down with the ball, he would have been out of bounds, but he certainly was in position to make the catch.
Parrish came back nicely. Collier waited a little too long to throw on the scramble. Once you get out there, if you're not going to run, get rid of the ball.
Visions of Doug Flutie had to fly through his head as Reggie White was coming after him, forced him out of that pocket and farther to the left. Second down and 10. At the 45 of Orlando. Jackie Flowers, the intended receiver, Barney Bussey with him. For Collier, it's so difficult because he understands that the defensive backfield is so good, so well adept, even without Mossy Cade, that they can afford to blitz and go with man coverage, the Memphis secondary.
They're doing a lot of man coverage. In nickel defense, they're playing Barney Bussey at the corner and moving Coleman into one of the safety positions.
Third down and 10. 1:06 left in the half. First down. John Corker made the stop right in the middle of the zone. Right in that seam, Joey Walters was found.
There's a deep curl pattern by Joey Walters, who'll be coming into your screen here from the left. He threads the needle. Hammond and Corker close the gap, and now Corker starts to fight for the ball, but it belongs to Orlando.
57 seconds left. The clock is ticking. One timeout left for Orlando in the half. Crump to the 31. Gain of about 7, maybe 8. Corker again made the stop along with Hammond.
This is a big pickup to Crump because it puts him in position to try legitimately a field goal. Deep zone drops. Crump's is an outlet receiver, circles out of the backfield, and then does a good job of trying to move forward quickly.
25 seconds are left. Inside to Walters again. Down to the 25-yard line. Hammond and Corker again there to make the stop, and with 20 seconds left, timeout perhaps called, and Brockhouse coming on. We'll see.
They're getting lots of zone coverage. With 20 seconds left, they don't need to go for the field goal now if they have a first down. They'd be premature. They have an opportunity to... Collier just went over for some instructions, as we can see.
But let's not forget, in calling that timeout, they have none remaining, so should Collier get sacked, then they run out of time, don't have the opportunity to go for 3.
Well, in that situation, I know what Lee is saying. Don't get sacked. Don't throw short of the goal line. If you do throw short of the goal line, hurry up and line up and throw it out of bounds. Kill the clock.
Well, remember, traditionally, Orlando has had problems in the third quarter, so all they can get before the end of the half would help them at the intermission.
Well, they're in position for a field goal now. It's just a matter of using the clock wisely and trying to pick up the touchdown. They're going to get blitzed.
Out of the shotgun. Collier for Walters. He's open. Just missed him. He had a step, maybe 2 on Leonard Coleman.
He ran a good route. It's a tough route. He ran towards the post and then broke back to the corner. Long-legged Leonard Coleman, he was able to sort of tie him up a little bit, got the step, but Collier just overthrew him. He's very disturbed with himself on it.
But that's exactly what you wanted if you're Lee Corso. That kind of pattern.
I might have taken another shot at it with just second down or kicking 13 seconds to go.
Cater will hold. 42-yard attempt. And he nailed it. With 9 seconds left, Brockhouse connects, and we talked about Cater, but he has had an outstanding year as well.
Brockhouse now moving into the ball, well, keeps his head down, trying to Nurse it in there. He's pretty confident that it went through. Not much question in his mind. He knows he's got it.
Piece of cake. That's Bruce Byram, the deep snapper there with him. He'll take congratulations as well.
You know, there were 13 seconds left, and conventional wisdom says you got time for another play. And even I said it. I'm not sure I'd go for it now. However, you're not certain what might happen again with that other play. Say you juggle a snap in center and fall down with no timeouts left. Say you complete the pass to the 4-yard line, can't get your team in the field. Lee wanted just what you said to get those fairly sure 3 points.
Again, a team that has its problems in the third quarter. A club also has just 4 victories. There's Brockhouse again, and you know, he has not missed an extra point attempt. He's also had a great year with field goals inside the 40, that one measuring 42 yards. And so when you start talking about kicking game and the development of a kicking game, and that's what Corso wanted, to develop a kicking game, develop a quarterback, and win a big game. He says, now, I've already done those things.
Yeah, he's got to develop his offense, and Brockhouse has kicked very well for them. He had been in our camp, Chicago Blitz, a year ago, and was a rough kicker, and he's developed very well.
That big game that he's mentioning, of course, is the win over Tampa Bay last week. We may have a fumble here. Parker was playing hot potato with it. I think he finally fell on top of it.
Yeah, I was doing the lags off.
Ricky Platt, we're told now, has an injured shoulder, so that will deplete an already depleted backfield even more for Lee Corso in the second half. There Mike Kelley comes up.
Tell you, that was a superbly engineered drive by Collier and by the receivers of the Orlando team under a lot of duress. But Platt probably hurt his shoulder in that play against Bussey where he lowered it because we didn't see him after that.
That's right. And remember, Joey Walters is the recipient of those critical third down plays within that drive. The veteran. Spencer up to about the 30, but that will do it in the first half. All right, our score at halftime, Orlando 17, Memphis 14. Many people believe of the teams on the lower rung in the USFL, Orlando is the best.
I'm one of them. I think between Orlando and LA and San Antonio and Portland at this time, Orlando is probably performing the best.
All right, we start play in the second half. Derek Crawford will take it in at his 4. Derek Crawford again gives Memphis good field position at the 29-yard line. Jackie Flowers and Wilford Morgan both down there to make the stop for Memphis. Mike Kelley will get the nod again as we start things here in the third quarter.
You know, Crawford has good power for a kick returner, and that dimension, besides just speed and balance and nimbleness, is what really delineates the great kick returners from the others that are just fancy and fast. Add power to it, you've got the complete item.
They marked it at the 28, where it's 1st and 10 for Memphis. Tim Spencer, a look-in pattern. Good for about 8 yards. Ed Jackson made the stop for Orlando. Jackson out of Louisiana Tech in his 4th year.
I want him down here. I want him down here.
Spencer was not the primary receiver on it. Again, he would prefer having gone deep downfield. Deep zone coverage dictated to him, find your back, a good quarterback, and one as he becomes experienced does find his back and gets what he can get out of it. Pretty good gain, I'd say, 9 yards.
Second down and a short 2 coming up. They give it to Spencer again. First down to the 47. Lupe Sanchez and Albert Gray both were there. And it's a first down for the Showboats.
Here's Spencer hitting up over the left side of his line. Last week, after running Spencer a great deal in the first half, they only ran him once in the second. I bet you they're going to give him the ball considerably this time. They cannot let their running game erode. He runs up over Louis Sharp, number 67. Sharp starts to block down. His man disappears on a stunt, so he comes on off and picks up number 50, Kelvin Atkins on the play.
Just underway, third quarter, 17-14 Orlando. An audible by Kelley. Sharp, first down and a great catch.
He's not down yet. Yes, he is. Now he is.
You got to believe that Kelley that time checked off into a fine play.
Well, it's a play action pass, so he's faking a sweep. He comes out of it, scans the field. He finds Shirk down the middle. The inside linebacker is expanded. Shirk sticks up that one hand. The ball, you better get in there. If you overthrow it, the free safety or one of the safeties is back behind him, you're going to get a likely interception. But he didn't overthrow it.
Shirk knows a lot about Memphis. He was an original member of the Memphis Southmen of the World Football League in the 1970s. Anthony Parker inside the 30 to the 29.
Roll out.
Freeman and Graham get on the stop.
You know, the task which Orlando has is much greater than the one Memphis has. Orlando has to stop a lot of weapons. Memphis has to stop Collier, and they'll win.
At the 29, it's 2nd down and 8. Moser at the bottom of your screen, Crawford at the top. Parker the lone setback. Gerald Bradley knocked out of bounds at the 23. Jeff George knocked him out.
Kelley wanted to go deep to Crawford, but Crawford was double covered downfield. You could just barely see him on the left of the screen. There's deep coverage. Bradley gets his feet down well, and he gets a little upset because George tackled him, but George wants to put him on the ground.
Gerald Bradley, who wears tassels on his shoes, marches to the beat of his own drum, say his teammates.
After that last one, he's going to wear bells in his ears, too, because it was a pretty good lick by Jeff George.
Well, Pepper Rodgers likes those individuals, and Bradley is certainly one of those. 3rd down and short yardage coming up. Bradley with tassels and all inside the 10 to the 8. James Stewart was with him, but it was no match. Bradley the easy victor here.
That was man-to-man coverage. Kelley coming back, a lot of things to read, and he's doing a good job of reading. You see Stewart trailing by about 2 yards on him. To his credit, he does catch up because Bradley is a speedy receiver. Stewart didn't give up even though he was beaten in the initial stages, and that's one mark of a good defender. He's going to get beat, but he doesn't quit because he got beat. He stays in the fight. Give Stewart credit even though he was beaten in the initial stages.
1st down and goal, Memphis. 10:34 left, 3rd quarter. Orlando leading by 3. Incomplete, intended for Greg Moser. With him, step for step, Jeff George.
It's a goal line fade pattern when you get one-on-one. You try and put the ball up over the receiver, over the defender, I should say, which he did, and just drop it in there. Good effort by Moser. He's good at running that pattern. The ball just barely off his fingertips, and Moser couldn't leap quite high enough.
2nd and goal at the 7. Leonard Williams. The play looked as if it might go somewhere early, but Lupe Sanchez cut them off at the pass, so to speak.
That was a saving tackle by Sanchez. He came up hard to fill once he read run. His key told him run, and he just wrapped him up around the ankles down there on the 7-yard line.
Well, he's really a crowd favorite, Lupe Sanchez, and a player Lee Corso likes, the extension of his coach. A little body lean coming there from Lee, advising his defense as to where he'd like them to set up shop. Sanchez out of UCLA and very popular in Central Florida. 3rd down and goal from the 6. That was a touchdown that was overthrown, and Kelley knows it. Bradley was there. He was tied up a bit that time, though, backpedaling and in an awkward position, really.
He didn't want to run himself out the back of the end zone, so he began to settle down. Now, he has a linebacker covering him. He's got him beat, but the ball is overthrown. Here we are now, 7-yard line. This is not a bad spot for a fake field goal. You're pretty close. Yes, it's a gutsy play. It always is. Not a bad spot for it. I'm not saying they're going to, but it's not a bad spot.
Good spot for Alan Duncan. Pepper ball goes conservative, and they'll take the 3 to tie the game with 9:35 left in the 3rd quarter. Brady came over out of that safety spot to give help to Odoms. And it'll be 2nd and 10. That's an unheralded strong safety, Barney Bussick.
Well, he's sure a fine player, I'll tell you that. Reggie White, you know, on the nose, they're really concerned about Reggie White. You see Jerry Durger, the center, number 70, blocks him. White works towards the sprint out, and they've got Fulton ready to turn in. That's a combination block between those two offensive linemen, something you need against a great defender.
Constantly giving Collier different looks. Memphis. Trump. Buried by Hammond. At the 25, they lose 2. 3rd down and 12 coming up for Orlando. Steve Hammond out of Wake Forest in his 5th year.
Now, talk about unheralded. Here's the guy. You never hear about him. You never hear about him very much in the press releases. He led the team in tackles last year. Leads them again this year. Nothing showboat about him except the nickname of the team. And plays just great ball every down, whistle to whistle.
Remember, Orlando crippled up here in the backfield even more tonight. Ricky Klatt, we understand, is out for the game, and the rest of the year perhaps with a broken collarbone. Down goes Collier. Klein, Bessalou, and Reggie White were all in there.
Pass rush situation, they've been moving Reggie White around. In a passing situation, they move him out to defensive end. You see him right now, number 92. That part of the screen, Joel Patton picking him up, number 69. White just keeps coming, moving forward, and spills Collier. All that happens after that just inflicts punishment, but White made the play, which caused the whistle to blow.
And Collier has come up gimpy. I should correct myself, he's not gotten up.
Actually, it was after White had spilled him, Collier began to get up. It wasn't a dirty hit or a late hit. There's a lot of noise. Whether the whistle had blown or not, you don't know, but it looks like Collier got hit from behind on the lower leg.
I thought it was Reggie White coming through. Perhaps he had that ankle in a bad spot of the leg. As he was trying to dodge to the outside, it appeared that Reggie White had come through with the hit and found that leg in a bad spot.
Well, okay.
Well, all right, we'll check on Reggie Collier, and we look at Reggie White, the hero for now, with tied at 17. On Reggie Collier on the Orlando sidelines, we're tied at 17. It's 4th down for Orlando, and they'll have to punt the ball away outside their patio, and who better than Greg Cater to do that? But remember, we mentioned Reggie White perhaps being the guy that hurt Reggie Collier. And remember, it was White that injured Doug Flutie. But we understand it really wasn't White's hit that gave Collier the pain this time. Fair catch is called by Crawford. It goes out of bounds at about the 40-yard line of Memphis.
I think we also should point out, neither hit was a dirty hit. It was a very clean, hard, good effort play. And Collier, by the way, seems to be better. But White certainly did not inflict purposeful or outside the rule damage on Doug Flutie, nor would that have been the case in Collier's situation here.
But he would have had an image with offensive coordinators, wouldn't he?
And probably one he wouldn't like, because I think he's a clean player.
7:48 left, 3rd quarter. 17 all, Memphis and Orlando. Tim Brando and Marv Levy with you. We're happy you joined us on ESPN. Bradley. Albert Gray was there with him, but not before Gerald Bradley came up with another big reception.
All right, plenty of time. This is what helps Kelley lay the ball in the zone in between two defenders. One of the defensive backs fell down on the play, Albert Gray. He was covering Crawford. He gets up, however. Now let's say Crawford, so watch Crawford clear it out. See him clear it out for Bradley, driving the people deep there. Now all of a sudden, Gray has heard the call, ball short, and he tried to pivot. He didn't run into him. He tried to pivot and fell down.
At the 27 of Orlando, Memphis on the move, and Spencer is stopped. 2, maybe 3 with the extra surge. Joe Ehrman got a piece of him along with Freeman, Calvin Kellen, the defensive end.
That caller referred to in the previous play, that defensive secondary talks to each other. When the ball's airborne, they're taught to yell ball so that defenders who have their back to the play realize it's airborne, and they also try and let you know where it's going so they can react.
With the exception of an interception, Mike Kelley has had a fine game. 2nd and 7. Moser in motion. Gray got a hand on it, and with a little more tip, Jeff George would have set sail for a touchdown. 3rd down and 7 now for Memphis.
Memphis is working a lot of combinations. Here comes Moser in motion now. They make him switch men on defense. Just a short little quick hookup by Crawford on the play, but the ball is trying to be thrown deeper, or else he expected Crawford to come inside more, I believe. There wasn't very good coordination on that down between Kelley and Crawford.
Mark Rao is in the game at tight end. Crawford at the top of your screen. Spencer and Parker in the backfield. Leonard Williams had it and dropped it. Might have been able to turn upfield and gain even more yardage.
I think so. I think he could have turned up for the first down. Man coverage on him by the outside linebacker, Kelvin Atkins, and Atkins was a good 2.5, 3 yards behind him. I think they would have had the first down had that ball been caught, even though it was caught shy of the first down.
Now, you mentioned a fake field goal. With the game tied, would Pepper be more apt to try it this time with the ball set down at the 36, a 46-yard try for Duncan?
I don't know about more apt, but I think it's a possibility right here.
Why go with possibilities when you have probabilities, right?
Well, Duncan's been hitting them, and they're in front.
All right. Fireworks coming from the Memphis offense in the 3rd quarter. They lead it by 3. There you see the playoff contenders, New Jersey and Jacksonville, coming up Monday. A big game. I'll be there along with Mike Hafner. And you see where they are standing, where playoffs are concerned. And certainly also another game coming up Saturday. It will be Baltimore taking on Birmingham. So it's all here on your source for sport. Jerry Parrish. Ron Osborne had him, and then he slipped through, gained 3 or 4 more yards before Anthony Parker got a piece of him. Now he and Donnie Eccles, the reserve tight end, get to know one another a bit.
You know, Tim, here's my kind of guy. Barney Bussey, number 8. He's playing strong safety. He's playing corner and nickel. He's covering kickoffs. Gets knocked down on that by a block that comes in from the outside. Is he staying the ground? You bet you he doesn't. He's back up on his feet. The ball carrier reverses the field. Who makes the tackle? Barney Bussey. Now, that's my kind of ball player. A starter who'll go in there and cover on those kicking teams. I had a guy named Gary Green in Kansas City that used to do that. What they do for your club is tremendous.
Jerry Goldstein in the game now for the injured Reggie Collier. We'll check Collier's situation and pass that along in a moment. That's Lonnie Johnson, the reserve running back, recently reacquired by Orlando. As you look at Collier, he's walking it up and loosening that leg just a bit. A fine evening for him. 15 of 25. 100 yards plus passing, but let's not forget what he meant to the team rushing in the first half.
Well, that's their offense over there on the bench.
What we understand is that it's a sore lower back, not a leg, that's bothering Collier. 2nd down and 3. Johnson. There's that keep them honest play again, and it kept them at the line of scrimmage as well.
I tell you, it's frustrating being on the side. And here's Lonnie Johnson, who's a back with ability, but he was brought in off the street, out of work, here just this week, and he has to learn all those assignments. His conditioning edge can't be great. This is a tough, tough way to have to coach against a good, strong defense.
Well, as an example, 4 weeks ago in Orlando, I saw a completely different backfield.
Absolutely.
In fact, these guys weren't even on the team. And we've got premature movement in the line, perhaps. Markers down. Initial indication is that it is against Orlando.
False start, number 64 on the offense.
Ed Fulton, the guard, on the right side.
Fulton just back in the lineup from injuries at right guard. You see him there. See his name up. Get his hands up. Good technique for pass blocking, but sorry, you got to wait till the ball is snapped.
That won't help in the film room, will it?
You know, a lot of coaches will say, I don't want to use this as an excuse, but we got a lot of injuries. Well, Lee Corso does have a lot of injuries, and he hasn't made any excuses about it.
3rd and 9 at the 19 now for Orlando. Nearly picked off by Hammond. Lonnie Johnson did an excellent job of playing defender there.
Well, he kept you're right, that's a very good point. He kept an interception from turning into a touchdown against them by coming back and break up the play. How do you perform when things have gone wrong for you? And he certainly ties himself up with Hammond, forcing another punting situation from pretty bad field position.
Hammond did have possession and did lose it a bit himself off his shoulder pad, but Johnson was there in a hurry. Cater, boy, you like having a guy like Cater in this spot. Though Memphis will have good field position at the 45-yard line, enough time for his team to go down and contain Crawford. We'll return in a moment. It's 2017. Brando along with Marv Levy here at the picturesque Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee. 82-degree temperatures and a hot game. Memphis leading 20-17 in the third quarter, though they've owned it. 2 possessions, 14 plays, a couple of field goals for Memphis. 2 possessions, 6 plays, and a couple of punts for Orlando. Shirk, Lupe Sanchez bulldogs him at the 49-yard line. He had a load in his grasp there in Gary Shirk.
Well, there's a strong safety that weighs under 200 pounds having to wrestle with that tight end who's usually up there around 230, but he hung on tenaciously. You know, Memphis has moved the ball. They have scored twice. Orlando hasn't done much, but the fact that they've been tenacious enough to limit those 2 drives to just 2 field goals still leaves them very much in the game if they get some big breaks. They need to get some big turnovers.
Well, that's right. As you mentioned, they win, really, by being on the plus side defensively where turnovers are concerned. Anthony Parker down to about the 45-yard line. That may be a first down. It is. 1st and 10 at the 45 of Orlando. Lee Corso pacing like an expected father, as always. Crawford goes to the top of your screen. Moser to the lower portion. First down, and Kelley goes to Spencer out of the backfield, and he's to about the 39.
There's Lee Corso spotting it for him over there. They're so concerned taking away the routes, the quick slant-in routes to Crawford and to Moser on the other side, that they're dropping their corner deep, their safety backing him up, and their outside linebacker is getting deep too, and it's leaving the flat exposed. It's a calculated risk they're taking. They'd rather give that short flat than the big chunk of yardage to that wide receiver.
And it doesn't take a Phi Beta Kappa to figure that Lee Corso wants more time for Memphis to perhaps make a mistake.
Correct.
At the 39, 2nd and 5. Parker! He has been running like a man possessed tonight. Ed Jackson made the stop, and the crowd here in Memphis certainly enjoying it right now as Anthony Parker continues to make a name for himself.
Very good mix of plays, and of course it's a good mix when they work. I mean, you could run Anthony Parker up the middle the same way Orlando is trying to run their guys up the middle and be hitting that mass of defenders and going nowhere, and the plays look bad. You run him up the middle, he's a good quick takeoff man with excellent blocking up front. He's ripping them open, looks like good plays.
Don't forget that front forward wall from Memphis. A creditable group. Spencer. Out of bounds at the 2. Jeff George saves the touchdown, and the Buckeye was giving something for
left. Spencer stepped that way. Wide open hole, and number 20 comes from all the way across the field, along with Jeff George, number 20 being Victor Jackson, to save the touchdown. And although things don't look good, they're not in yet, and that's why you make that kind of effort. They may get in, but they still got to earn their way in.
They lead it by 3 right now, with less than a minute left in the third quarter. And Parker's wrapped up behind the line. Sanchez, West, Bernard West also in on the pile. In fact, it was West out of North Texas State that initiated that hit that caused a loss on this one.
Here again, Tim Spencer leading Anthony Parker in there. We see Bernard West, number 58, wrapping him around the ankles. Freeman coming in. There's a lot of fight and a lot of spark on a team with a poor record that has no chance to go to the playoffs. I admire the way Orlando is playing. I admire the way their coaching staff is keeping them at a high level of effort.
Second down and goal. And that time, it's Ron Freeman. And another loss for Memphis.
Remember that saving tackle, that saving effort by Victor Jackson from all the way across the field on Tim Spencer. This is the play they scored their touchdown on in the first half. A fake up the middle of Parker. Number 73, Bollinger, leading the rollout. Kelvin Atkins not fooled. He contains it that time. Fool me once, it's my fault. Or however that saying goes. Here's the end of the half.
The Memphis Showboats are leading, but Orlando, a stubborn team. It's 20-17 at the end of 3. We're ready to start the fourth quarter here in Memphis. 20-17 the Showboats, and we start with a pivotal play. Third down and goal at the 10, and Memphis leading by 3. Touchdown.
It's a slant-in pattern. Moser coming in away from the outside. He ducks in behind Rao. The defender on him was expecting him to go upfield, gave him a big cushion. Jeff George did. And by the time George realized he was going cross-field, Moser had him beat into the end zone. He's quick, not blazing speed, but good quickness. And in those close quarters down the goal line, that's the kind of receiver that's effective.
For a time, he had been Memphis's hottest receiver. Then he cooled off a bit, but Kelley found him at an opportune moment this time. So the quarterback shuttle has turned into Air Kelley, at least for the moment, here in Memphis. They lead by 10. 27-17 our score. Memphis leading Orlando. Moser, the recipient of that aerial. And a nice assistant coach sometimes can come through where play calling is concerned, and that happened for Memphis that time.
We'll let you know about that in a moment.
Parrish up to about the 25-yard line. Bradley, along with Coleman in on the stop. Collier will return to the game now for Orlando. It's do or die for the Renegades, perhaps. Yes, he will.
You know, Tim, you mentioned just before the kickoff about an assistant coach calling a play, and they often do, depending on the assignments they have in the game. But we saw Kelley on our monitor during that last commercial break talking to Jimmy Robinson, the receivers coach. Kelley saying, "Did you call that play, coach?" And Robinson sort of nodded his head, and Kelley's off said, "Hey, way to go." So assistant coaches don't get much recognition. Let's give credit to Jimmy Robinson on that one.
Reggie Collier now playing with a sore back, forced into duty because his team must have him in order to have a chance. Crump. Nice gain for Crump, 5, maybe 6 to about the 32-yard line. A crunching tackle by Hammond of Memphis.
That may have been the best gain of the night, running, other than Collier's long run, or the runs Collier's had. Best running gain by a running back.
That guy is, you can tell, he is not well physically. He is gingerly walking up to the line. incomplete. Donnie Eccles, the intended receiver, the reserve tight end. Hammond again providing coverage for Memphis. And playing with pain is something all great athletes must do. And Reggie Collier has withstood great pain before, but when you're 4-11 and you're in a situation down by 10, and you know that Memphis is going to send everyone, as you look at the third down conversions there in Orlando, 4 for 7 with 3 yards or more. It's got to be even more difficult for Collier now than ever before. Here they come, Corker after Collier. Smith with a great grab for a first down at the 40-yard line, and they picked up Corker blitzing from the outside.
They had a blitz on the play, no question about it. Crump stayed in, picked up Corker on the outside, and that's tough for a back to block Corker, but Collier gets lots of time, and Jeff Smith, superior concentration. He's covered well by Leonard Coleman. The only place you can go to. Collier showing a lot of poise, dropping back, reflecting confidence. See number 26 there? Richard Crump picked up John Corker, 53. Teams don't like to have to block him with a back. They were forced into it there and succeeded.
That was the first down of the half picked up by Orlando, and it comes with 12:55 left in the game. They did not have a first down the entire third quarter. Reggie Collier calls the timeout. Orlando must come up with something on this drive. They trail by 10. There's a look at Ricky Porter and some members of the Memphis offense. Reggie Collier, with a 1st and 10 situation, brings up his troops at the 40-yard line. Orlando trailing at 27-17. In motion, Jerry Parrish. Intercepted by Don Besselou. Bob Nozowick knocked him out of bounds, and had a little too much touch on this one. It floated on him, and Besselou picked it off.
Well, he's falling away when he throws. Well, look at him lean on that back leg throw and then fade away. You're not going to get good direction on the ball when that happens. He was under some pressure, no question about it. He was contained, but it was not a good throw.
Don Besselou with his 6th INT of the year has Pepper and company smiling. It's 27-17. And he's happy right now, his team leading 27-17, but you've got to wonder how internally he must feel, knowing that his coach planned on using both he and Kelley. He's only been in for 2 plays and only 1 time legitimately as the quarterback.
Well, for one thing, a player always wants to play and feels badly. However, things have gone well with Mike Kelley tonight, so well that I'm sure he understands why Pepper Rodgers does not want to make the changes he thought he might make coming into the game.
Inside the 50. Kelley goes to Shirk. Gary Shirk, who usually is not a factor as a pass receiver as much as Mark Rao, has been used tonight a number of times, and he's come through. The savvy of a veteran has played a big role for Memphis offensively.
Yes, he has, Tim. I think the reason we're seeing so much of Shirk tonight is Memphis has come in with a commitment and a belief that they can have a strong running game. Shirk is a very good blocker. Rao only weighs 215. Shirk is a much more sturdy tight end, an adequate receiver. Rao's in there now, however.
2nd and 4. Spencer. Good speed from Ron Freeman, and that saved that play.
That was a saving tackle by Freeman. The play very similar. See Spencer step right and go left. Very similar to the counter play, although this one's to the left. That was run a while ago. Dave Huffman, 56, through the hole to block. And Spencer comes right underneath Huffman. Huffman would have had a difficult assignment to turn inside to pick him up. But had Freeman not made the tackle, Spencer was off for a long run.
That Orlando defense has been on the field a long while. Spencer, 11 rushes for 62 yards. Better than average night for him, where this year is concerned, and he has another first down. Bernard West wrapped him up there, and it's a first down for the Showboats.
The short yardage play, Bernard 58, the inside backer meets a block very well. That's a fine, fine defensive play. Aggressive by Bernard West, even after making contact. He knows why he's making contact. He's not in there to inflict punishment, just to inflict punishment. He's in there to make the tackle.
At the 37, Leonard Williams is caught. David Graham, third-year player out of Morehouse, 6'6", 255 pounds, was unfooled. They lose yardage there. Back to the 39. Second down and 13 after the loss of 3 as Kelley gets instructions from the sidelines.
We've seen very little draw or screen pass tonight from Memphis. Now here's a situation, second and long, where a draw or a screen is a feasible call at least.
Look at that for Kelley. That's why Lewis isn't playing. He was given a lot of pressure that time, dumped it off, and at the feet of Derek Crawford, the pass fell. Third and 13 coming now for Memphis.
He was hit just as he released the ball. He was hit from the side where he didn't see someone coming off his left shoulder. See him check there with the center, Larry Rubens, to find out maybe if something happened on the pass protection. Usually you do that, you check, and you can't remember what they told you anyway because you're in such a hurry to call the next play.
How often, really, would an offensive lineman tell on another offensive lineman?
Oh, it's a scheme. He may have asked, did I call? Sometimes the quarterback controls the blocking pattern with a call.
All right, I understand, Coach. Thanks. Third and 13. Here comes the blitz from Freeman. Kelley finds an open hole, and it's dropped. Boy, Moser had it, and Kelley had hit the blitz clean, but it's all for naught.
Perfect throw. Moser, usually very sure-handed, just dropped it. Happens to them all. Throw enough balls, you're going to drop some.
And again, Orlando dodges a bullet. They're only 10 down with 10 minutes to play. And with Collier, even with 75% of his talent, could perhaps put Orlando back in the thick of it.
Well, they're still in the game. Collier's going to have to be able to function. Whether he can or not remains a big question. Collier, you know, for them to win, he's going to need 110% of his talent, if there is such a thing.
That punt by Miller will be marked out of bounds, well upfield at about the 19, so not at all what Jim Miller would have liked. And we've got a timeout with 9:52 left. Memphis steaming it up here with a 27-17 lead. That NASCAR event should be a great one. Our award-winning coverage comes your way here on ESPN. Make plans to be here. Tim Brando and Marv Levy are with you now with 9:52 left, 27-17. Memphis and Orlando operates at its 19 with Reggie Collier banged up but in there. Nizolik goes in motion. Collier finds Nizolik. Leonard Coleman wraps him up, and Nizolik is out of bounds at about the 27-yard line. A gain of 8, and again Collier blitzed and troubled by Corker coming from the outside.
He's under a lot of pressure. He gives a hand fake to Crump. You see pressure from the outside. Nizolik, tough catch. Those good tight ends are tight ends that have good upper body flexibility and turn around to get it. Here you see John Corker, 53, coming on the blitz. Number 31, Lonnie Johnson, goes at his ankles. Corker evades him and inflicts some punishment on Reggie Collier. And when you're behind, this is punishment time for the quarterback.
Second down and 2 for the Renegades. Oh, a nice hole there. Richard Crump up to about the 34. Don Vesalou stopped him. Vesalou with an interception, you might recall. Set up the Memphis touchdown to give them a 10-point lead. Well, the acquisition of Vesalou means so much to this defensive team and secondary, particularly. Seasoned veteran with Miami experience.
Well, our Collier still, he's their offense. 200 of the 231 yards are getting a little bit out of their running backs now.
First and 10 at the 34. Collier finally Zolik.
Zolik was not on his initial route. He saw Collier drifting. No one was open. Zolik worked very hard to try and come back at the passer, but to no avail.
He was out of bounds. The pass incomplete, and the ball remains at the 34. Second down and 10.
You know, Tim, you mentioned the addition of Beslew, and I think the addition of Beslew to the defense, Louis Sharp to the offense, really helped make Memphis go up that notch or two, so that they're a very legitimate playoff contender when they weren't before they got those two fellows.
Speaking of Beslew, there he is, showing blitz and now backing off. The flag goes up about 5
False
seconds.
start, number 76 in the offense.
About 5 seconds after we heard the whistle. And another false start. This one by Mikulovic. Yep. Ron Mikulovic. Backup tackle out of Tampa. Second down and 15. At the 29-yard line, Crump the single setback. Well, the Memphis defense just has Collier throwing off his heels. They're using 4 receivers right now, and Memphis comes with the blitz, and Collier's in retreat as he airs it out.
They're making him go inside. They're containing him. Here comes Corker blitzing. We get the guard pulling out on the play. Tom Dornbrook, number 63, to pick Corker up, but they're still rushing Corker's face on the front side. And as you said, leaning away, he tries to arm the ball across his body, unable to get much of his body into the throw. They're doing a lot of shotgun, using a lot of shotgun now to try to minimize the pass rush.
Third down and 15 for Collier. They finally got to him. Reggie White, Sam Clancy, among others. And Collier is almost done, you've got to believe. He's not well.
Well, again, Tom Dornbrook, number 63, pulls out in blue to block Corker. Now, that leaves some holes up the middle, some difficult assignments for one-on-one blocking against those big defensive linemen. And on that occasion, it's too porous. And this fellow isn't 100%, and if he isn't, I don't know how he can function with any degree of effectiveness.
Catering to punt the ball away, 4th and 24. And again, Memphis should come up with good or better than average field position. Takes it on the short hop.
It worked out okay, but that was a mistake by Crawford. He shouldn't have handled that ball. They're in the lead.
27-17, our score. We'll return after this. First down and 10. Mike Kelley still at the helm. He's missed only one snap tonight. Spencer. Before the year's done.
There's the counter. Start left. Come back right. Guards pulling in front. Tim Spencer getting that break. And what he's doing, he's running better. He's gaining confidence. However, he's going against the weakest rushing defense team in the league. They're trying. They're giving effort. They don't blow leads. They just can't hang on to leads. There's a difference. Their effort is there. Their performance level is not.
At the 15. Anthony Parker to about the 7, maybe the 7-yard line, perhaps the 8. Kelvin Atkins made the stop for Orlando. The outside linebacker.
It's frustrating, Tim. Their schemes appear to be very good. They're sound. Their players are giving good effort. But there is a mismatch right now in terms of the 11 against 11 that are on that field.
And no one knows that more so than Lee Corso at staff.
Yes, he does. And you can't keep saying that. You can't take your players down further. You encourage them. You want them to keep fighting and keep scrapping. But it's a disheartening thing, and you build character in your players. This is the type of thing that helps build character in the coaching staff, too.
Timeout, Memphis.
It will be 2nd down and 4 with the ball at the 8-yard line for Mike Kelley and company. Now take a look at where Memphis has had the football offensively where possessions are concerned. Outside of their first drive, which led to a field goal, they've been around midfield.
They've been right out around midfield. It's resulted in an additional field goal and a touchdown. And let's see what happens on this one, because they're right down there now, ready to take it in again, possibly.
And if you are in Lee Corso's position and you're saying, all right, it's a calculated risk the way I'm defending Memphis's offense, I'm going to make them take the long way. If you cut the field in half, it makes the job that much more difficult for Lee Corso, and the possibilities obviously diminish.
You know, he's had a couple of punts this happen, and Cater is a fine punter and has been all year. One of the things he does well is punt the ball high, and all coaches love a punter who punts it high. However, there's one time to say forget height. When you're kicking that ball from inside your own 15 or 10-yard line, you'll take your chances on a long return, but kick that ball as far as you can. Kick it 60 yards. If it's low, it's low. We'll take our chances. Cater's kicked high, not for distance, from deep in his own territory.
Memphis totally dominant in this half.
They've shut down Reggie Collier. Collier's been hurt, too. Memphis has kept the ball, and they have stopped Orlando 1-2-3 when Orlando has gotten the ball.
From Ron Freeman's vantage point, we look at Kelley. Spencer inside the 5 to the 4. Now, he has a 100-yard night. Lupe Sanchez made the stop. And though it is a defense that's depleted somewhat, you've got to feel that Spencer will grow in confidence, and they'll go to him a bit more, and maybe he'll be more confident in a crucial game next week against the likes of Jacksonville.
I'm sure that this is the top performance, I believe, of the season for a running back on the Memphis team. Spencer over 100 yards for the first time this year.
Lee Corso will say in the postgame, well, so what? We've given up 100 yards plus to several running backs this year, but again, when you start talking about his team's play defensively tonight, they've been a tenacious defense, so they haven't been all easy yards for Spencer.
We had a very weak defense last year, and people would rush for 100 yards one week after another, and said we're putting more guys into the Hall of Fame than we're really responsible for it. Lee is experiencing some of the same tonight.
First down and goal. The ball is at the 4. Parker. No ruling as yet.
Ooh, he looked in.
Much to the dismay of the healthy crowd that we have on hand here in Memphis.
Let's take a look. See if we can determine if indeed he did get in. Okay, here we get beautiful low goal line fire out blocking. Parker did not get in from this angle. The officials saw it better than we did.
Lupe Sanchez. He's a sticker, and he's playing linebacker right now on 2nd and goal. Parker. No ruling again. We've heard nothing from the officials. Everyone in a white jersey raised their arms. Now they signal touchdown. Now I know and you know that many times you have to unravel a pile, but when you wait that long, you've got to feel that you really didn't get through.
Well, they just couldn't find where the ball carrier was. It's a matter sometimes of 2 inches this way or that until you can get to him to see where he's lying with the ball.
Sometimes it makes the defense feel even worse when that happens. Sure it does. kick is good, and he's kicking all the way to the sidelines. Or I beg your pardon, perhaps it's not good. We'll wait. Now they're ruling it good now. I was wondering why he was practicing. He was pumped up, not practicing. It is 34-17. We'll be right back. Memphis has a healthy lead, 34-17. The Dreamboats are giving their display, and the display by that man's team tonight has picked up. They had their problems early on in the second half with all that good field position, not being able to crack through the end zone, but they've solved those problems here in the fourth quarter. Lee Corso still talking optimistically, I'm certain, to his team, though they're down by 17, seemingly unreachable for the Renegades.
All you can hope for here is that right now you'll get a quick score. That's the only chance you have to get back into the game. It's a 1 in 1,000 hope, but you harbor that hope.
Duncan's kick is squibbed. Picked up by Parrish. Parrish pushed out of bounds at the 30. Gerald Bradley was the guy that did the damage. And Goldstein does come into the game. Now, we figured that Collier might have been done on that last series. Evidently, either Reggie said so or Lee said that's enough.
Whatever, he was battered, not able to function like he had been at the outset of the game. Came back in once, tried to go, but he wasn't able to help his team. A fellow with Reggie Collier's skills going against the odds he's going against has to be just at full 100% workability.
Goldstein. Walters running a post pattern. Pass was an out pattern and fell incomplete. Fox was over there defensively, but that really not significant. The two just did not hook up. There again is a look at Reggie Collier. 17 for 31, that much yardage, but remember that touchdown rushing, he had 77 yards, most of that on the TD jaunt. He was all Orlando had to offer. And you know Collier remembers what that felt like, Reggie White.
It's that part of the game and the psychological set of the game where it's just going to be very difficult for Orlando to protect. Here we see Goldstein, that blitz again by Corker. He feels that pressure, tries to step up inside. Reggie White's coming. Everybody knows he's going to have to pass. If you want to run, go ahead, gain 7 yards. Time will run out on you. So all the cards are in the hands of the Showboat.
19, Crump. He felt Fox first, and then Sam Clancy. They have a 5-man defensive line plus John Corker coming. This is a screen. Crump is supposed to jolt him, try to turn him loose inside of him so that Goldstein won't have to throw over the rusher. He didn't. Goldstein really lobbed the ball too much. Crump was a sitting duck. Clancy went to a football school at Pitt, but played basketball there. Didn't play it down at the University of Pittsburgh. Cater again, punting from inside his 5. And it's down to the 42 by Kelvin Atkins. Kelvin Atkins downs it at about the 42-yard line. There's Sam Clancy in his 4th season. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Phoenix Suns. That's how adequate he was at Pittsburgh playing hoops. But with that size, you had to feel, and that kind of lateral pursuit that you must have playing basketball, he would be an outstanding defensive player in football. And Pepper Rodgers is glad he chose football. Walter Lewis now enters the game really for the 2nd time as a quarterback, but remember he came in really for one special play early and another special play late in the first half.
He's in this situation to get work. I mean, this is a game they have to feel they have under control. He's letting him throw to get the work.
He'll run instead. Out of bounds at the 33. He'll get about this fellow can do.
Well, play action, a little trap pass, makes a trap to Ricky Porter, wants to throw to a back quick in the flat. The back wasn't there. He felt some pressure. So he said, I think I'm a pretty good runner. I keep reading I am. And he should be reading it, by the way, so he takes off.
That's the dimension, the extra dimension of Walter Lewis. And he is such a class act. Can only be an advantage to have him on your roster. Lewis intended for Rao. He threw it a bit behind him that time. Gray and Jackson were both in the area. What a performance for Mike Kelley. 166 yards, 1 touchdown, rushing, and an interception that was deflected.
Kelley came into this game with an over 60% completion percentage, and he improved that to a small degree tonight. So he continues to throw for very high completion percentage.
The knock on Kelley is that he needs to be an underdog, fighting for respect to be at his best. We certainly may have seen one of his better performances tonight with a quarterback shuttle in mind with Pepper Rodgers. Walter Lewis. Now, Ricky Porter was in the game, and it appeared that either Porter or O'Neal, the running back, were to have taken a handoff. Now, maybe it was a fake, maybe it wasn't. You tell me.
I think he's going to give the ball to Ron O'Neal, number 44, but the mesh is not there, and he is forced to scramble. 2 players in there haven't played in a long time, Walter Lewis and Ron O'Neal, and your mesh and your timing isn't going to be real good.
Thanks, Marv, because I couldn't tell. He did a good ad-lib job anyway, didn't he?
Well, so did I, because I'm not sure. I just tell you what I thought was there.
First and goal at the 10. 2:21 is left, and Walter Lewis calls for the timeout. 34-17 is our score. Memphis leading Orlando. Now remember, this will give Memphis its 9th win of the year. They're tied currently with Jacksonville at 8-7, and Jacksonville comes in next week. Prior to that, of course, Jacksonville must play New Jersey at the Meadowlands in a game you'll see here on ESPN on Monday night.
You know,
there's Billy Donovan, the owner, sports entrepreneur of the Mid-South, and a guy that has given Pepper Rodgers and this community a great deal of support. This is one of the stronger franchises in the USFL. They're strong at the top.
They are, and I hark back to the move that was made in mid-season when Memphis was in a slump, and the owner and Steve Earhart, president and general manager, asked what they needed most. They said at that time it was a left tackle, stopped the other team's best pass rushers. They went out and got Louis Sharp. Tim, one other thing, you might wonder, we said earlier, Pepper Rodgers and Lee Corso are friends. What's Pepper trying to score again for in this situation? And there's an answer, a good answer. They are in the fight for a playoff spot, and one of the tiebreakers is cumulative points you have, and that could turn out to be a factor, and I think that's the reason why he would like to have more points.
And obviously, you don't want to put a rubber band on Walter Lewis, who's been waiting to play tonight.
That's true as well. He finally gets his chance to let him function.
First and goal at the 10. That's Gerald Bradley. And he fumbled it. He was going for the end zone. Got nailed by Victor Jackson, and then Porter fell on top of it. Look at this now.
Here's Lewis with all that quickness and mobility. Drilling the ball right on the money on the move. Bradley should have ducked in then. Not try to dodge people. Lower your shoulder and get in the end zone. But the fumble is caused, I think, by Victor Jackson.
All right. We're down to 2 minutes. The world is Showboat country, and they're seeing it around the world tonight. And the owner's happy. They're leading by 17. Is Williams out of bounds or not? Now, he goes on for a touchdown. The red flag was thrown by Dick Corey of Portland and supported.
From this angle, it looks like he stepped on the sideline, but that's from this angle. You can't be sure. I don't think it should have been reversed because you couldn't be sure. It was reversed, but let the sleeping dog lie. I mean, don't keep making it worse and worse. It was reversed. Let it be.
But if you're Pepper Rodgers, you have to appreciate that management is willing to spend the extra money, send the team back up to Portland and play an extra 10 minutes as Earhart and company have asked Harry Usher in the USFL. Second down and goal at the 3. Lewis finally stopped at about the 4. He actually lost about a yard or so. And with him step for step and doing a heck of a job defensively for the Orlando Renegades was Scott Hutchinson, who many believe is really the best defensive player on the line that Lee Corso has.
Well, he's their best pass rusher. They don't have really many players along that line who can defend against the run effectively enough anyway.
Third down and goal. Lewis, touchdown.
Down in yardage, you knew it was going to be a rollout. Here he comes, being led around the corner by Ricky Porter and also by number 61 guard Ken Smith. He has the option to pass on. There was not an option to pass on it, I should say. The wingback and the tight end all blocked down. It was a run all the way.
He's still really the best rusher on the Memphis team, and he still ranks atop the USFL when you consider all the statistical data around quarterbacks. And yet he's still trying to get more playing time with his own team. Walter Lewis has given the Showboats a 41-17 lead over the Renegades. Walter Lewis has just given his team the most points that they've scored in a game this year, 41. Offensive brain trust we've been talking about earlier.
Well, Jimmy, we can make him more than he is. The receivers coach, I'm sure he's very involved with the passing game and what might be there. Jimmy Robinson played for Pepper Rodgers at Georgia Tech and went on to have a good career as a possession-type receiver with the New York Giants and, I believe, Atlanta and the San Francisco 49ers.
Now the kick is taken by Parrish again at about his 5. Up to about the 24-25-yard line before being buried by a deluge of Showboats. Bradley, among others. Ricky Porter also in there. Porter slow to get up. And Goldstein comes back in. So with the score now 41-17, Orlando playing for pride now. Memphis has scored on 5 of its 6 possessions this half. It looks very bad on the scoreboard, but you and I both know that until we were, maybe 10 minutes or so left in this game, Orlando had a shot with a damaged quarterback.
Yes, but in the first half, a team can fight, give all they got, hang in there, be close. In fact, they had a narrow lead. But over the course of a full game, the difference in the strength of these two teams has definitely been shown. Unless Memphis were to make some bad turnover mistakes, I don't see how Orlando could have had a chance to beat.
Smith made the catch and got it up to about the 33, where it's 2nd and 3. Joey Walters. Joey Walters had most of his high moments in this game in the second quarter as Collier engineered a brilliant drive to give Orlando its last lead at 17-14, and that was at the intermission.
Well, this is statistics time. The defense is going to drop off, but you complete the short one. Helps your completion percentage. You add some pass yardage.
Deep snap from Durger got away. That happened a week ago, and Lee Corso shelved the shotgun, and it did not happen early tonight. It comes late with about 32 seconds left.
What happened to Jerry Durger on that play, I just got done saying they're playing a bunch of zone. All of a sudden, they brought up 2 safeties to blitz him. Durger is looking up. He realizes there's going to be a change in pass protection assignments at the last second. His concentration did not stay where it should be, and he delivered a bad snap.
Goldstein delivered one to Walters that may have been caught at the 35. Though I believe they're ruling it incomplete. They are.
That center is very involved in picking up safety blitzes, and when you also have to snap on a shotgun, it really gets complicated.
18 seconds are left. There's a look at Reggie Collier. His sore back, damaged ribs. Pepper Rodgers had to have this game tonight, and his ball club came up with it. 3rd and 23 for Goldstein. About 17, 18 of it picked up there by Smith on the completion with 11 seconds left. We may have time for one more play.
Jeff Smith runs nice, tight, precise pass routes and has good hands. He's a very good receiver.
4 seconds are left, and the Renegades call timeout. And the fans boo, of course, but Lee Corso, being the type of individual he is, would always take a timeout here and give his quarterback every chance. Now, as we mentioned, Memphis and Jacksonville coming into tonight's game tied for the final playoff spot, the 8th spot. Now look at the remaining schedule. Memphis has Jacksonville at home in Arizona. Look where Jacksonville has to play. New Jersey on Monday night. I'll be there with Mike Hafner for that game on ESPN. Then they have to come to Memphis, and then they play Denver at home.
Well, I'll tell you, a big thing is whether you're home or away. In the league this year, the home team has won 63% of their games.
You're right.
So that is a big factor.
So Pepper Rodgers knows that graphics, if nothing else, are on his side. Goldstein for Jackie Flowers, and that will do it. It's all over. Lee Corso, whose team was 0-6 prior to meeting Memphis the first time around, met Pepper Rodgers the second time when it meant a great deal more for the Showboats. Marv, a big win for Pepper and company.
Yes, it is, and I think he's explaining to Lee why he went for that extra score later, trying to buck him up, but it is a big win.
So those two discuss the issue, and we tell you that the Memphis Showboats have won it by a